This is Craig with the Repair Engineer channel. Today we're going to address winterizing your RV and what to do about this water that's in your tanks. So, unless your tanks have a bottom drain, which most do not, what you end up with is this black mold. That's actually inside the tank, and that's one summer of using the RV. And if we leave it this winter, it will just get worse. Now you can see there's some antifreeze in here, so I poured some in because that was my original idea, was just to mix in some antifreeze. But the truth is that most of this is water, and the antifreeze really won't help. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a hole in the tank with a plug that we can remove. And so I will switch to that light here. Hold on. So what we're going to be doing to get that water out is we're going to drill a hole in the tank, and then we're going to insert this plug. And I've specially made this and tested it so that it makes a watertight seal. And I'll show you how to do that after. But basically, we're going to find a spot. I think we'll go back here in this corner. We're going to drill a hole, and we're going to stick that part in there. And then every winter, we'll take this plug out and we'll let that last little bit of water drain out. We're not going to let all the water drain out because there's probably 40 gallons in each one of these tanks. We'll drain it out the normal way, and then we'll pull this out to get the last of it out. We'll drain it into a pan. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay. Sure we're in the flat part of the tank from all the edges. Okay. So I just drilled a pilot hole to let the water out. Once the water's out, then we'll enlarge the hole and fit it for the plug. Alright, so now I've got a 3/8 hole. I did end up using a drill bit to finish it because I didn't have a step bit thick enough. This is actually pretty thick. Now I want to take and chamfer the edge here, inside and out. So I don't have any sharp parts that will catch our rubber plug, and then we'll be good. Just for future reference, in case anybody is looking for it in the future, these tanks on a 2006 Alpha Sia are actually a 1/4 inch thick in the bottom. So that was pretty surprising to me. I did not expect them to be quite that thick, but that's the best I can estimate from that hole. Is about a 1/4 of an inch. I would have expected them to be thinner, but I guess, they're fairly unsupported, so they made the plastic pretty thick.
So what I wanted to show you here is how much yuck came out of the tank. There's quite a lot of dirt and debris there floating around, and also how much water there is. There's almost a gallon here. And if you think about trying to add enough RV antifreeze to concentrate this to a point where this water won't freeze, you're going to be putting a lot of RV antifreeze in your RV. Each tank has about this much in it. This particular RV has 3 tanks, so you'd end up with a lot. So I think in general, this helps with the mold. It gets the dirt out, and also cuts down on how much antifreeze you need. So how do you build one of these plugs? It's not something you can buy. It's something you have to make. But it's not very hard. You take a part from Amazon, you add some parts from Home Depot, and I actually put it in a bucket with way more water, at least way more water height than are ever in the tanks, and proved to myself that it was going to seal. So I'll show you how to build that.
Okay, so here I'm going to show you how to make one of these adapters. So you're going to buy this part off of Amazon. You get 2 of them, and we're going to take it apart. So the problem here, the reason you can't just use this, is that this shaft doesn't fit. I mean, it's huge, so it's going to leak. So basically you want that rubber piece. You don't really need the rest of this, so it just becomes garbage. You need one of these Hillman screws. I got these at Lowe's. They're 1/4 20 by 1.5 inches. What's important is that they are a snug fit in here. So that's important. And they have a bit of a shoulder. That's important because when we put this in here, and they are a pretty tight fit the first couple times, and you want that. You want this to seal, and you want that shoulder to seal. This is the part that's going to end up inside the tank. Okay. So the only other thing we have to do is, besides loading up some washers, we're going to put a washer on here. Then we're going to put a nylock nut. That's going to be our compression nut. And then we're going to thread 2 of these nuts on there to allow us to tighten it. And the only other thing to do is to shorten this stem, because this is longer than it needs to be. The tank is 1/4 of an inch, and we want about, well, 1/8 or so sticking out. So we're going to cut this part here down to about a little over 3/8 of an inch. And I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so what I've done here is set the caliper to 0.4, and we're going to just cut it off at that point right there. It is quite difficult to mark these, so you just have to kind of take your time here and do the best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'll show you how to get a nice straight edge. So you want to mark it at 0.4 because of what we're going to do in the next step. Okay, so this little mark at 0.4. It is hard to see. We're going to take a razor. Might be able to do this with a good pair of angle cutters also. Take our mark, and then as carefully as you can, we want to cut straight down through the part. Okay. Now, you will notice that it is not perfectly straight. Okay. So what you can do to fix that is thread it through here like this, and now you can kind of see the high spot. And then we're just going to take a piece of sandpaper and lightly sand that off. I'm going to do that on a belt sander, so I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so now we've got that much straighter. Doesn't have to be perfect. We do want it to be pretty flat. And let's see what our final overall height ended up being. We are 3.65, so a little shorter than I wanted, but pretty close. So then all I gotta do is put this piece back in here, and then thread this on. Ooh, sure. Okay, and you're good to go. The only other thing I might do is, because we've got more bolt length than we need here, I'll probably cut this bolt. Cut a couple of threads off the end of that bolt. Although now that I look at it, it's not really going to matter. Okay, so that's how you make those. I wanted to show you how one of these goes together. It occurred to me that not everybody will know about this double nutting trick. So I've sanded that down, so we're nice and flat. That's important. We're going to push that on there. Okay, then we need a washer. Okay, you could maybe reuse this washer if you wanted to save money, but it's really not worth drilling a hole in it, from my perspective. Okay, next we want to put this on. And so for this, we need an Allen key that fits that Allen head. So we're just going to run this nut down. That's a 7/16, by the way. I like to tell people the sizes. All right, we want that run down until that is just tight, but not, that still spins. If we go any more, then it'll start to compress, and then this is going to be hard to get in the hole. And then we're going to put 2 nuts on here. And we want these nuts to tell us the relative position of this. So we want to just run them down just till they touch. And then we're going to hold this nut with the wrench, and we're going to tighten this nut against it. We got to be careful the socket doesn't go down to the bottom. Okay, and then we tighten one against the other. And what that does is now these 2 nuts will not come off, right? So if we hold on to this, this has really got quite a bit of force now. And so once we stick this up inside the water tank, we'll hold this with one wrench and tighten that up to compress it with the other wrench. So one last thing to do, it has to be done very carefully. If you'll notice, this this sticks out just a little bit. So to make it slightly easier to install, one of the things I found is you can just take a knife and just trim the smallest amount off of this top edge. I'm not entirely sure this is necessary. I did it to the other one. It made it a little easier to put in. So we're just removing a little bit of material. I think now that I see that, I think I might try and do that with the sander. So I'll take a little piece. I'll just run that on the belt sander at the top edge and just clean that edge up. All right, so that's pretty much it. These are ready to install. So just want to give you a look at those. So I ran those against the belt sander, and you can tell it, it sands the head of the bolt a little bit, but that's fine. And it just takes that sharp edge off. This one got a little more aggressive. Just knock that down. Don't go crazy with that. And then lastly, we're going to put a little bit of silicone in each one. It's going to do two things. One is going to make it easier to install, and the other is silicone gives you just that microscopic seal against water leakage as well. So we'll put that on there. I guess you could have technically put some on the shaft of the bolt too. Probably wouldn't have been a terrible idea, but these seal really well. So I did a test with a 5-gallon bucket, and yeah, there was no leaks at all using this method. So just put a little bit of silicone on each one. Okay, all set. Okay, back in the RV here. So we've got our hull in our lowest part of our tank. I've also put it in this side so that I can kind of tilt the RV to the left, to the driver's side, and get the rest of the water out. That really matters because there's quite a bit lays in the tank. Here's the part. I'll show you how it goes in. So it just fits in there. It's a pretty tight fit. I mean,
So it'll stay in while you get this next part ready. So you need 2 wrenches. You're going to put one on the nuts at the bottom, and then you're going to put another wrench right up on the top nut. You can hold either of the bottom nuts without, because they're locked together. And you're going to turn the top nut clockwise. And what that's going to do is it's going to pull the bolt down and expand the rubber washer inside the tank. You don't want to go crazy here, because if you over tighten it, you could potentially pull the bolt through the rubber washer. What I found is about half a nut's height is about right. You don't want to go too far, and that was a pretty secure. You can kind of pull down on it and verify that it doesn't come out. And then when you fill the RV up in the spring, make sure you check all of these, obviously, to make sure they aren't leaking. So with that, hopefully you'll have cleaner water tanks. Good luck. Happy RVing.